Welcome to the UpKeep Pledge Pros Podcast, a podcast dedicated to UpKeep's unmatched value and unwavering support for our customers and the community through our new ambassador program. Today, we have my friend, mentor, and longtime extreme expert, George Williams from ReliabilityX. Welcome, George.
Thanks, Bryan. It's awesome to be here. Really far from being an expert. I got a lot to learn, but thank you. I appreciate the kind words.
Well, okay. An interim expert. How about that?
It's always striving to be, but never getting there. Expert.
Well, that's why you have one of the most absolute crushing teams in the whole world to support you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So George is the CEO of ReliabilityX. ReliabilityX is a solutions provider for all things maintenance and reliability, manufacturing optimization, everything that you need to understand in your holistic business to gain profitability, have return on investments, and ultimately have the fundamental excellence and culture to drive and have sustained value long-term for your business. That is what George does and his team does every single day. They're absolute crushers. George, before we get into your team, what you guys do, you being who you are, and there's no introduction needed for you. Tell us who you are and ultimately ReliabilityX.
Yeah, sure. So George Williams, founder and CEO. My background really, I went to a Votech high school, went to college, had kids young, dropped out of college, went to school hard knocks, was a maintenance mechanic, the typical path for us folks, right? So yeah. At this point, I've got a master's degree in maintenance and reliability engineering. I spent the better part of 15 years at Bristol Myers Squibb Pharmaceuticals, where I cut my teeth and started out there as a maintenance mechanic and ultimately left there responsible for all their asset management globally.
Nice.
And then moved on to a company called B. Braun Medical Devices, the largest family-run medical device company on the planet, like really big company.
Is that the same Braun, like toothbrush Braun?
No.
Okay.
So B. Braun, not the shaving and toothbrush company, but B. Braun is a medical device company, IV bags.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
German-based company.
Gotcha.
And not that the other one's not, but different company. Spent 3 years there and finally convinced the wife it was time to start my own business. And, we had a lot of great success at Bristol Myers Squibb, a lot of really good successes at B. Braun Medical. But I have a passion for seeing people succeed and felt like you're limited to the number of people you can help when you're inside a corporation. And so we started ReliabilityX, and ReliabilityX at its heart, the best way to describe us is an empowerment company. We empower people, and the places we go and the asset management principles and operational principles that we apply never really tend to be focused on the equipment. It's, people think they have a downtime issue, and maybe they do, and they've got lots of other issues, and they call us in to fix equipment. And it's never the equipment. So at our heart, we're an empowerment company, and empowerment takes the profession of empowerment, right? So senior leadership says, hey, you're empowered, Bryan, you're empowered to make a difference. That's only part of the equation. The other part of the equation, Bryan, is that you have to accept empowerment and act on it. And to do that, you have to have the knowledge, competency, and confidence to act on it. And then, of course, your organization has to be okay with you making mistakes, because the only way to be transformational is to make mistakes.
Of course.
And so we focus on that centerpiece, right? We don't give the profession, the company does that. But what we do is empower the individuals. We give them the knowledge, the skill sets, and the experiences to build the confidence and allow them to act on empowerment.
Makes total sense. I mean, it's like a soup to nuts, right? I mean, you have to start with the individual being able to do, say, and understand the right things and be a part of the right things and have the ability to know that I'm a part of this bigger thing, and where do I fit into this bigger thing. And then it feels like a progression, probably, where you're like, or where they are like, oh, well, now I kind of fit. what about my supervisor? Is he going to fit? How do I get him in line? And you guys do all that, right? You go from technician to corporate C-suite, right?
Yeah, we'll coach people, vertically, both upward and downward, right? Because you speak differently to the C-suite than you speak to the shop floor. And so regardless of where you are in that hierarchy, we can coach you in how you express value to those folks at different levels of the organization.
Yeah. Would you say that we talking like I hear a lot, and I'm sure you do too. I hear a lot, particularly in the CMMS space and in technology space. It's always like, how do I can't communicate the value. I have X VP who just is like, no, we don't know how to get through to him. We don't know how to communicate these things to him. Would you say that it's somewhat beneficial to turn language into the appropriate context for the people, for with the level of people you're talking to? So like, I like to call it transactional in people, or like the VPs, like they're not looking at what we do as maintenance and reliability professionals. They're looking at it as a transaction, whether it's a labor cost change or a material cost change or an overall expense. Do you have a similar analogy, or is there a certain way you go about those types of things?
Yeah, let's answer that in a couple of quick ways. First and foremost, the folks at the shop floor typically, and this is not all encompassing by in any way, shape, or form, but the most common scenario is folks were a decent maintenance mechanic or a good operator. They became a supervisor. They got no training in how to supervise people. And then they became a manager. They got no training in how to develop a budget, no training in how to manage teams, no training in how to develop a strategy. And this just keeps happening, right? And suddenly you're the VP of operations and you've had zero training in any of that. And this is a fairly common approach. Let's say you're now the maintenance manager, you've been promoted, you're not quite sure how to do all these things. Interestingly enough, the maintenance folks and folks at the shop floor, we know things emphatically. We know the pulse of the plant. We understand the equipment. We know that, asset 1, 2, 3 is a piece of crap and needs to be replaced with capital budget. What we have no idea how to do is articulate that to gain support. And so not only is it an important skill set, it's a necessity. It's a necessity for everyone to understand their business and to understand what motivates the management team of the business. Because maybe they're numbers people, but they're not always numbers people. And so, I often, and Joe and I did a presentation years ago at a conference called It's Not You, but It's You.
Nice.
And that's about understanding who your audience is and how you communicate. If you're ineffective at convincing your management team to support your efforts and needs, it's your fault.
Right.
If you're not successful at getting the funding necessary for training or getting the funding, it's your fault. It's because you're not conveying the value or risk in a specific way. And every business is different and every management team is different. So there's no cookie cutter thing to say that's going to suddenly give you all the tools. However, there are a couple of easy things you can do. One is to understand all of the goals of the business. So if you go to www.yourcompanynamehere.com/about us, you're going to learn what your company is committing to. It's going to commit to something that deals with profitability, whether you're a public entity or a private business, you've got to make money.
Sure.
There's going to be some commitment to the customer, whether it's expressed as quality or a commitment to the customer, there's going to be something there. There's going to be a safety commitment, an environmental commitment, a commitment to the community, maybe a commitment to your employees. There's going to be stuff. Inside your company, there are whole business units whose job it is to achieve those goals. So finance has to achieve financial goals, and not that everybody doesn't play a part in that, but there's a specific team, right? There's a safety department, a quality department, the environmental health and safety, all those groups are designed to achieve those goals. Make those folks good friends of yours.
Right.
Sit down with them and understand what their goals are and how the maintenance department or operations department directly impacts those goals. And if you can understand those goals and begin to express your needs in terms of how they limit those goals from being achieved, you have a better chance at getting a room full of people to start nodding their head up and down.
Right.
So, for example, if you're a reactive maintenance organization, you're more likely to be injured on the job. So if safety understands that, they will support the need for better PMs. They'll support the need to move into predictive maintenance, where you're not doing physical interventions and the potential for workplace injuries, for, repetitive motion and all kinds of other stuff, ergonomic issues. And so if they're more likely to understand how you impact their goals, they're more likely to show you support in a room full of people.
Right.
Same thing on the finance side, get a really good understanding of what your costs to produce are and how maintenance impacts that. Learn the business, I guess, is the best way for me to express that. You have to understand your business. It's not your opinion that matters in most scenarios. As unfortunate as that may be, you're in the context of a business, so you have to operate maintenance as a business.
Right. And it's funny that you say that too, is I myself, working in multiple organizations, you and I've even had conversations about my old jobs when I always needed advice. It's always funny, I always used to get not mess with people. Are always like, why are you so in tight with accounting? It's like, why are you hanging out with the safety manager? Why are you hanging out with the safety director? I said, because I'm able to articulate to these people. Not only do I like them, they're good people, but for my business unit to function correctly, I have to know these people. They have to know what I'm doing and how my things that I am responsible for and are important to me in the business interact with their things that they're good at and are important to the business. And it's just a crazy thing. It's like this interwoven understanding. And I remember even talking about it with you on your podcast with you and Joe. It's like, look, you've got to have relationships. You've got to have a mutual understanding. You've got to be able to communicate. It's like, we talk about this all the time, George. It's like everything that we're talking about now, you talked about 25 years ago. It's the same problems.
It is. It is. Everywhere we go, it's fairly similar. The people change, their background changes. There's lots of diversity and folks that end up in positions all over the country and or all over the world. And so you have to coach them a little bit differently. You have to understand what motivates them as a person and what their goals are. But ultimately you're trying to get them to understand that their function is not improve. I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for this statement. Your function is not to improve reliability. Reliability is already designed in.
That's right. You're not in trouble. That's common knowledge, brother.
It requires the oil to be changed every so often. And if you decide not to do that, then you expect the reliability to go down.
That's right.
Your machines in the plant are no different. They were designed with an expected reliability, and to achieve that, it requires a certain level of effort. It's all the things that surround it that we make business decisions on that screw up reliability.
100%.
So we either do all the things appropriate to achieve the reliability or we don't.
Yep.
So our job is really to get everyone else to stop messing it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to convince them, right? Because you can change the oil or I can go eat at McDonald's. And if I decide to eat at McDonald's instead of change the oil, then there's a consequence to that, right? Every decision has consequences. And so at the plant, it's no different. I can decide to overwork the equipment because I think this week's numbers are more important than the long-term value of the asset. That may be short-sighted, but I can make that business decision. Our job in the maintenance space is to express the business risk.
Right.
And we're not very good at it. We're not very good at expressing what that risk is. Not only that, even if the risk is created, we own it. How is that? So we don't decide to create the risk. Someone else makes a decision to inherit that risk, yet your phone rings when the risk comes to fruition.
Yep.
So, and we don't know how to combat that verbally. We don't know how to express without getting in trouble. Well, you decided this, so you're getting exactly what you put in place. I don't know how to help you. Like, we're going to fix it, but don't complain about the 4 hours of downtime that you asked for.
That's right.
So we help provide that level of understanding.
Right. And I feel like relationships, not just ReliabilityX's relationships with its customers, but the internal relationships can drive a lot of those good conversations. If you focus on building relationships with these interdepartmental leaders and all these different people, hopefully, if a business decision is going to be made, which could impact the uptime of an asset, you have a rapport. You may have the ability to maybe turn some dials in a different direction. And I'm glad you said that reliability is built in. That is such a massive misconception with people and industry in general, where they're like, oh, I can increase the availability. I can increase the reliability. I can increase the reliability. It's like, no, you're just putting it back to what it was designed to do.
That's exactly right. You're just not screwing it up anymore.
That's right. And I tell people too, and I know you as well, it's like, as soon as that machine leaves the factory, comes to your plant and gets bolted to the floor, the way you bolt it to the floor is going to dictate the reliability. Like, it's that simple. Installation, commissioning, and operating context will make or break your machine. And I love your analogy of like, my right now priorities of increasing the output or throughput of this machine are going to just destroy next week's projections because I'm running the crap out of this thing. But you're right. That's a decision that someone said, we're going to eat. It's fine. Even if people like you and me, we go, well, the machine was designed to run at this many widgets per hour. If you double that, it's likelihood that we're going to have some downtime. We'll deal with that when that shows up. It's like, no, we won't. I will.
Well, that's another big. So one of the biggest issues we see in the industry are folks that the trend of not sticking around, and for whatever reason, whether it's the loss of pensions 20 years ago, or people just want to pad their resume and move on to the next place because they know they can get a raise out of that. If I know I'm going to stay at a place for just a year or two, and I'm going to then leave, I don't own the bad decision long term.
It's true.
I own the throughput increase short term. And I get to pad my resume and say I took the plant from X number of units to X to Y number of units. And then I get to go on my job interviews and I leave the plant in condition that's not optimal.
Yeah.
I just took a plant tour last week of a facility that has incredibly aging infrastructure, and they're trying to get leadership who now supports efforts in reliability to understand that we can do all the wonderful things that you want to do today, but I can't undo the 20 years of abuse that existed on these assets.
That's right.
And I can start changing oil all you want, but when we open up the engine and it's got, a quarter of an inch of caked on stuff,
the liners are wore out, everything's gone.
I'm not undoing that, right? Like that's not just disappearing because I started to change the oil. There's history there that you have to be able to express as well, that shortens the expected life of those assets that you inherited from the poor decision-making process. So trying to understand, if you happen to have a manager whose motivation it is to just immediately cut cost and worry about today's numbers, it's likely they have a short-term expectation. And you should recognize that. Right. That's why today, with the way folks leave position to position to position, it's incredibly critical to have standards in place. It more so than it used to be. It used to be that regulated industries were really good at having SOPs and processes and standards in place. It's even more critical today in non-regulated spaces, because it's harder for a leader to come in and undo a procedure that exists or an expectation that has existed for a long time that's not based on word of mouth, but have a proceduralized approach. And so I encourage everybody to go down that path, because with today's environment, folks don't stick around.
Right. I mean, and you're right. I've walked into organizations where there was nothing and I had to make everything. And I've walked into organizations that had really bad stuff that had to be changed. The problem with that is that the culture was already in alignment with the old style of doing things. So not only am I changing the way in which we're going to be doing maintenance, strategizing our future, maintaining assets, all these things, but I have to change the way those people think about that process in order to get them to buy into this new process. That's a rabbit hole, right? We could talk about that for 100 years. But what I did want to ask you, George, I know ReliabilityX is huge in the training space. And I know I've done some of your training. I know I have bought it for all my past companies to use as well. UpKeep is using your training. It is phenomenal. It is led by one of the greatest, and I'll let you say that. But can you tell us more about ReliabilityX's training, what you're doing, where you're going, all those things?
Yeah. I mean, when we talk about empowerment, training and education is critical. When we talk about changing a culture, internally, we like to use the term evolve. We evolve people, right? If they think they have to change, then there's a negative context to that.
That's right.
Our goal is to evolve people. And to do that, you have to raise their awareness and their education. And so we focus heavily on training at a core of what we do. Our offerings online that you're alluding to, that lots of clients are using at this point, it's completely online, self-paced. And the first class that we released was Maintenance and Reliability Best Practices. It's written by Ramesh Gulati, who
Nice.
book Maintenance and Reliability Best Practices. And we did it different, right? We didn't do a bunch of voiceover PowerPoints and send them online so people can buy it. We hired a learning architect company that knows how adults learn, and then we worked with them to build the content. So there's a lot of clicking, flip this card, match these things, hit clicks to make a scenario happen and learn about it. It's very interactive, and you can do it from your phone, your laptop, whatever you want to do. We actually are about to release MLT1. So it's an ICML certified MLT1 training course.
Nice.
That's expected, I think, to release this week, if I'm not mistaken, if either this week or maybe next week, since this week's short week.
That's awesome. Is Joe running that one?
Yes. So Joe built the content for that, and then we worked with ICML to get us to be a training partner. So we're a training partner organization for them.
Nice.
And then we've got in-person training. So Ramesh has a webinar coming up that's on December 13th, I think, from 8 to 3 Central. And then we have 2 in-person training classes happening here in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, that folks can fly in for if they want. We're doing maintenance planning and scheduling training. That's January 16th and 17th. And then Joe's teaching a course. What the heck is Joe's course? Developing an Effective PM Program. And that's on January 23rd and 24th. So you can go to our website, purchase the class there, fly into the Allentown area, or if you're local to that area, swing by and come say hi. Joe's a phenomenal instructor. I don't know anybody that does more research than Joe when it comes to learning.
He's a rock star.
That he doesn't already know. Not that he doesn't already know development, he does in and out. But if you give him a something to learn, or he wants to learn about something new, that man does tons and tons of research. His classes are extremely interactive. He's a really good instructor. So I highly encourage you to take Joe's class. And then my course is on maintenance planning and scheduling. So they're both 2-day courses. We're also going to start working on what the 2024 full schedule looks like.
Okay, cool.
We do lots of webinars. Probably we're likely to have at least 1 free webinar every month.
Nice.
Throughout 2024, possibly 2. And then we'll release additional in-person training courses as those start to get scheduled.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, Joe's a crusher, man. And you're saying he really goes hardcore into learning things. I might start sending some heavy equipment stuff his way. Maybe we can start talking about that.
Joe is, if Joe wants to learn about, he developed this class called Business Basic for maintenance, to teach maintenance folks how to speak the business language and how to run the maintenance department as a business. And he probably spent 3 to 4 months putting the course together, and read so many business books and so many maintenance books that dealt with the topic. to really get a good understanding of what does work and what doesn't work. I mean, he's got his own history that shows what works.
Right.
But he is above and beyond all that when he does research for a class. He's phenomenal at putting a course together.
Sticking to the training, George, I wanted UpKeep's customers, the community at large, to know. I don't know a lot of people that know this, but I'm going to say a lot of people don't. Is tell us about the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Yeah, so I've been teaching at the university since 2009 as part of originally it was just their maintenance certificate program. It's now a maintenance and reliability certificate program. And I don't even know how many classes I teach at this. Probably like six.
A billion
of the courses. Joe teaches a couple of courses. Ramesh was teaching their maintenance and reliability course. John Ross is now teaching that course. We're going to see if Ramesh can get additional class there, but we teach as ReliabilityX. We teach about 75% of the classes that are part of that certificate program.
That's awesome.
And lots of folks come through there. And the University of Wisconsin is just a beautiful campus. So if you want more than just take a class and you want to get a certificate through a university, that's the best there is. By far the best there is.
And I think that what really is important is that's a testament to you, to your team, to ReliabilityX, being able to partner with a well-established university and really have a hold on their whole program, for almost 20 years, and correct me if I'm wrong, that course is also online too, right? It can be remote.
It can. So you can take the class that we have online self-paced through the university, and it will count as part of your maintenance and reliability certificate program certificate. It's actually a required course, not the online, but either the online or in-person version of that content is a required course.
Right.
And then we're also in process of developing kind of intro courses.
Okay.
That are geared to be like 3-4 hour online self-paced. So there's a full class in root cause analysis. If you're not quite sure if you want your entire team to go through a 2-day class, you can send them through this little 3-hour session. It gives them at least a high level understanding of the what and whys of root cause analysis, and then send to people that are going to be facilitators or more actively involved in the program to the 2-day course. So we're in process now. Matter of fact, over the holidays coming up, I have to do all my recordings for both root cause analysis and FMEA. So the cat's not exactly out of the bag by the university. So, keep it on the down low, but as we do this public podcast. But yeah, I'll be spending some time over the holiday putting that content together. So they can start releasing those early next year.
That's awesome. And one thing I didn't mention is the maintenance and reliability best practices course that we've been talking about this whole time by Ramesh is actually the foundation and driver of the CMRP exam, right?
No comment.
So
I'll say it this way. So Ramesh was on the team that helped build the exam originally, built the body of knowledge and all of those things. From a technical standpoint, SMRP does not have approved trainers anymore.
Sure.
So we can't say that officially that's the case. But Ramesh
it helps
has been part of that body of knowledge since day one.
Right.
Ramesh is also an ISO 55000 Technical Committee 251 member. As am I. So ReliabilityX is one of only a handful of United States companies that help write the ISO 55000 standard and make changes to it. So we've got lots of accreditation within that space as well.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I meant that training is a great foundation to take if you are going to sit the CMRP exam.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's or any exam. We're not going to specifically mention those. There's lots of maintenance and reliability. There's a few maintenance and reliability certifications that are available. In preparation for any of those, this course and or Ramesh's book is never going to steer you in the wrong direction.
No, I always like to tell like upkeepers right now are using your class and reading Ramesh's book in preparation for CMRP. It's been great. I'm actually meeting with them after this to go through it. And the nice thing about it is the self-paced training is really hitting on a lot of the holistic strong points of all of that information that's in the book. And then if you couple that with reading the book, you just got double, right? You're getting the explanation, the application understanding through the training, and then you're actually getting into the weeds a bit with all the technical information in there. And it's proving to be very, very beneficial for, I know our team. It was very beneficial for my team at past companies as well. So I highly recommend that. George, we're coming up. I got like 2.5 minutes. How can we get a hold of you?
Lots of different ways. You can send me a direct email at george.williams@reliabilityx.com. Generally speaking, you can send any of your questions to ask@reliabilityx.com. You can connect to us on LinkedIn and Facebook and all kinds of social media. You can also give us a call at 877-RLBLTYX.
Nice. That's awesome, George. George, like I said, man, you were one of the very first, ReliabilityX, one of the very first podcasts I was ever on several years ago. And I've been following you guys ever since. I've been able to come up and hang out and film with you guys. And I've always been a huge fan. And I know for sure that there's immense value being created with ReliabilityX. I'm happy to associate myself with you and put you guys out there as much as I possibly can because of the value it's clear. It's very, very valuable. I really appreciate you coming on, man. It's been awesome. And I'm glad that I can be sitting here and you're sitting there this time.
Yeah.
I said the same thing to Greg Christensen. I was like, I got you. Now it's my turn.
Oh, you were easy. You didn't ask any really tough questions. So that's good.
I don't want to. Hey, man, I want people to know who you are, know what you're about, know what ReliabilityX is about, know that that ReliabilityX is going to be a part of our ambassador program and our partnership. And I just want to make sure that you are available to our customers in the community at large. And if people don't know you, I want them to know you because it's so important, and the value that you bring is so valuable. And I really appreciate it. I mean, you've helped me, right, personally, right. So I want to make sure that people know the real deal, and like I like to say, the reality of our business, not all this craziness, right?
Yeah. It's thank you. I appreciate that very much. Everybody just needs to go out and make one thing better. We get loaded down with the enormity of it all. But if every day we take one little step towards better, we're doing good things. And that's kind of why we exist, right? Is to help everybody take one little step. And so, I appreciate this platform. I appreciate UpKeep for giving us an opportunity to be an ambassador and to speak to your audience. So thank you very much, Bryan.
You're very welcome, man. And look, George is awesome. Please connect to him. His information will be in the bio of this podcast. And again, this is the UpKeep Pledge Pros Podcast, where we are offering unmatched value and unwavering support to our customers and community at large through our ambassador program, which George and ReliabilityX is. George, it's been wonderful. We'll see you on the next one, brother.
Cheers. Thanks.
See you, man.